What's up, guys? Joe Drake here with the Axiom Fitness Academy. I want to take a look at a specific exercise today, the overhead kettlebell swing. So first off, before we even get into it, because I know it's kind of a controversial exercise, I want to put out there that I'm a firm believer in the fact that there's a lot of gray area when it comes to fitness and exercise selection, and what might be right for one person is not always right for the opposite. So not to say that overhead kettlebell swings aren't right for anyone, but I want to take a look at maybe why overhead kettlebell swings, especially in a weighted approach, are probably not the best exercise for most of your clients. So let's first just take a look at the kettlebell swing in general. So looking at the difference, because I do want to differentiate the kettlebell swing versus a chop. So if we're looking at trying to develop whether it is endurance or hip strength, power with weighted, more explosive, rapid kettlebell swings, right, then what's the goal? The goal really is to develop hip explosiveness and power. So we're developing, tension in the core as we go through the exercise. That's the primary goal. Now, for those of you guys who might be using the kettlebell as more of a kettlebell chop, where you're using a lighter weight, maybe you're going overhead. So I'm going to grab a lighter kettlebell here. Let's say where I'm driving that weight all the way overhead and controlling back down. I would say that's the goal of the exercise is very different. So I would actually say that's not even a kettlebell swing. So not to say that a kettlebell chop is not okay, but let's take a look at what's going on when you start to do weighted kettlebell swings, especially heavier weights up overhead. So the first thing would be, we talk a lot about this in the course in the Axiom Academy, and looking at movement assessments and how most people compensate when they do certain exercises. And one common one is going overhead with weight in general. So a lot of people lack the shoulder flexibility, maybe whether it's because they have tightness in the lats or overall tightness in the shoulder, that really prevents them from going overhead without poking out those ribs and arching the low back. So if you take a look at your client, and when they go through and they do a standing overhead press, they're poking those ribs out and they're arching that low back. Now just imagine what's going to happen now when we start to add a weight in a dynamic exercise where gravity is accelerating that weight back down. Most often not, injuries during workouts, during exercise, happen during moments of instability. So we want to try to minimize those moments of instability for our clients, especially in more dynamic, more explosive exercises. So rather than go into a position, let's say with a heavier weight, so let's say I'm grabbing this heavier kettlebell, and I've got a client who can keep good position, squeezing the glutes, they're locked out in that normal kettlebell swing, but I start to go overhead and they're arching that low back because guess what? They're thinking, hey, you know what? I've just got to get this kettlebell up over my head. So your body is a great compensator and it's going to find a way to do it. And then what happens now, they've got to accept all that weight coming back down that's accelerating even more because you're higher up. And that just presents a potential risk. Not to say that everyone who does an overhead kettlebell swing weighted is going to get hurt. I can say I've done plenty of them. Used to do CrossFit at one point in time, so it's not that everyone's going to get injured. But again, risk-reward ratio. What are some other ways we can intensify the exercise rather than just going further overhead, right? So we're trying to maybe create more force. First off, grab a heavier kettlebell. That's going to be one thing. Maybe we still swing to that safe standard height of, belly button, chest height, but a heavier weight, right? So now we're getting the effect that we want in a safer way. Maybe you don't have heavier kettlebells, but maybe you guys have some super bands. You could take a super band, wrap that super band around a lighter kettlebell to create more tension if you're looking to get a little bit more intensity, right? So this is actually going to give you a similar effect of gravity if you're going overhead, but again, we don't have to get into that unsafe position for a client. So again, always taking a look at options that are safer. Anytime you guys having a client do an exercise, you should always be able to ask yourself, why am I having them do this exercise? Is there a safer alternative? Am I just doing it because it's popular? Am I just doing it because it's sexy? Or am I doing it because it's going to make them better? It's going to keep them safe and it's going to get them the results they're looking for. So great example of an exercise where there's probably some safer alternatives and modifications for your clients. So guys, leave comments. Let me know what you think.